you and I met, and I'm excited that I get to be a part of this anthology. But last year, God challenged me to stop having separate conversation of faith and business.
Yep.
And so this year I started something called the Faith Purpose Profit. I call it FPP podcast. And literally, that's literally what I do is Monday nights, I have a conversation where I blend it and I do it separate. And so really picking apart this conversation of how you blend the three. And so that's what I've been doing. I stopped doing guests, and it's really kind of a Bible study around faith, purpose, profit, and being unapologetic. And I'm gonna tell you, one of the things I'm talking about now is rich. And I get so
Mhm.
many inbox messages about people saying, "How can you talk about God and rich? How can I not?" I want,
Yes.
and I challenge people to go look up the definition of rich, and then go look up all the people that God used in the Bible that were rich and wealthy.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, every just about every
Honestly.
character in the Bible.
Yeah, and
Just
you
about.
talk even about, like, the throne rooms of heaven. It is not a place that you're gonna go and feel less than. We're gonna feel, and we should feel here on earth as it is in heaven, as he commands, that we should feel like royalty. We are a royal priesthood,
Mhm.
and I don't know anybody in any royal nation or royal party that walks around in rags. It's the
Mhm.
riches in which they exist.
But if I'm going to keep it all the way real with you, the way I even started in this journey, if I could tell my story really quickly, is
Please.
I was absolutely broke in my business. So I've been doing this 28 years, even though I'm still 30. And I tell the story in the trilogy, so I'm not going to tell the whole story. Y'all got to read my chapter to hear the whole story. Unselfish plug. So you'll hear about when it comes out. But let me just say this: I was so broke in my business, I was ready to quit. But I was clear I was caught, and I felt guilty for wanting to quit. And I was making $13,000. That's how broke I was in my business.
Mm.
But I was clear. And what God said to me at the time when I was like, Lord, if this is really you, I need you to show me something, because this ain't working. This little $13,000 that I keep making, this ain't you. And so something's got to give. And when I finally hired a coach, because really what was in my way was my ego. I kept
Mhm.
doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Oh, and by the way, I was an adjunct professor, not in one, but two prestigious universities while I was doing this little broke down business on the side, making $13,000. Not wanting to tell
Oh.
anybody because I had this really long, prestigious resume, but was broke in my
Right.
business
Mm.
and embarrassed, if I tell you the truth, and looking good at church with all my cute little outfits on at church, and was
Yeah.
making $13,000 in my business. And so when I finally hired a coach that cost $30,000 and my business made $13,000, and really my coach pretty much showed me and began to show me all the ways that I was overlooking my gift and discounting my gift. And so the very first place that called me was a church to hire me. And I was like, really, Lord, why you gotta have a church call me after all of this?
No.
And when I finally stopped discounting my gift, and the first lady said, how much do you cost? And I told her, and she said, okay, pay me full price for me.
Wow, you're like, a church is actually paying full price? That's so rare. I like
And
that
then
church.
when I said, Lord, excuse me, here's what God said back to me, you guys. God said back to me, service and struggle should never coexist. Why would
Ooh,
I give you a gift and want you to struggle to do it? I
so
realized that my mindset was in the way. So, as we talked about at the beginning, the church has an issue. The reason I was struggling for all those years is that somewhere in my mind, I thought if I had ministry, that I couldn't ask to be paid to do it. And so I had to shift my mentality from being broke around doing this thing I was called to do, to realizing that God wanted me to get paid to serve in his kingdom. And so, one of the reasons I'm passionate around bankrolling your brilliance is I began to realize that in order for me to really be able to serve at the magnitude God wanted me to serve in, the more money I make, and you said this earlier, the more people I can serve, because the more team I can hire. The more team I can hire, the more volume I can serve. Again, the more volume I can serve, the more impact I'm having. And so, as I began to learn this more, I began to realize how many more people were suffering from this. That's why I get so passionate about teaching it. And listen, I was master's degree. Then I went on and got my honorary doctorate degree, and I got an honorary because somebody wanted to honor all the work I was doing, because I started really, really learning this. And so I'm passionate about it because it took me too long. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn this stuff. And I began to realize how long and how many people were suffering from it.
Well, you said so much in that. I want to speak specifically to the ego element because it's a massive area of conflict that I think a lot of people pridefully and self-righteously are so prideful and self-righteous that they don't even recognize that it's
Yeah.
happening. I can raise my hand to this. And so that's why it's easy. And I'm sure you see it often. It's easy to recognize now that
Mhm.
you're on the other side of it. And that doesn't also mean that we're not constantly being humbled by the Lord or constantly needing to humble ourselves, because there's elements of things that in growth, we can feel the sense of what conflicts a lot of people. It's
Mhm.
why things like addiction unfold. It's why things like failure, after you see somebody succeed so quickly and do so well, and then it
Right.
ends up all being taken away from them. It's so many examples in the Bible we could talk to just about this, is knowing that we have to always come back to this state of humility. But you
Mhm.
did something that's really important that a lot of people have a hard time doing. It's the number one objection people will hear on any sales call, specifically around coaching, is investing more than you make. We
Mhm.
want to make more, but we're not willing to invest more than we make because it feels hard. But
Yep.
isn't that faith,
You
right?
know what's so interesting? We're investing going to college. So when I got
Yeah,
my master's degree when I went then was 40,000.
right.
So when I was still paying USC, hello, in student loans, but I wouldn't go pay a coach
So
because
true.
what I was trying to learn, there was no degree in entrepreneurship, not in this way, not in
Yep.
what I was learning to do.
Yep.
And what's so interesting, and my husband and I laugh about this. My husband is a physicist. Okay, just to give you guys perspective, he has a PhD in physics. Okay, so when I was trying to get a PhD in theology, okay, so I wanted to study purpose. And so everywhere I looked, because my expertise is in purpose, no place could I go study purpose. So when a school called to give me an honorary PhD, my husband said, "Look at that." And then at first I was saying no. He's like, "Why? You've been trying to find somewhere to get a PhD in purpose, but there's no place to go. Now somebody wants to give you a PhD and you won't take it because you think people are going to talk about you. But you've been studying purpose on your own for
Come
30 years. So somebody wants to honor all the work you've been doing, and you worried about what people will say." He's like, "Girl, if you don't go get this honorary PhD, right?
on.
Because
You
you've been
better.
spending the money." And
Right.
mind you, I've been to seminary classes. I've been taking
Sure.
classes.
Sure.
And I want you guys to get this. So many of us, me included, my hand is up too, are worried about perception and public opinion. This is me too. I went and got an accelerated MBA as well. And I did that for me because I wanted to learn. I've sat in seminary classes because I wanted to learn, because I knew that God was calling me to study this, because he was calling me to teach this.